This is the Nasserman Hockey Podcast with James Nichols and John Zella. Okay, welcome back to the Nasserman Hockey Podcast. I'm James Nichols, and with me, as always, is John Zella. What's up, bud?
Not a whole lot. We have some Islanders hockey to talk about.
Oh, yes, we do. Including a nice new would you call it a panoramic shot? Either way,
I don't think so.
a beautiful shot of the UBS Arena's current state, which looks pretty much done. At least for the ice level and the seats and everything. The banners are up. And that picture that they tweeted just moments ago, honestly, beautiful picture. And the first thing that came to mind for me was, holy crap, it's the Nassau Coliseum.
It really is. I'm sure once you get in the arena, you'll notice all the updates and amenities and that it's a modern rink. But from where this, and if you haven't seen it, the Islanders tweeted it out later Tuesday. You could have convinced me that this was I can't remember exactly what the ceiling looks like at the Coliseum. It doesn't not look like this.
Right.
But like, say for like, I guess I don't see the speakers that hang down and things like that, but like, it kind of looks like that. I haven't seen it in a while. You could convince me that they had just renovated it and here it is.
Yeah, no, it really, and like I said, when I went back on that media tour in May, and none of it looked even anywhere near this. I said even then, this place is still going to be every bit as intimate as Nassau Coliseum, and then seeing that picture today, just solidified that thought even more for me. Like it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm thinking about I will be on Long Island in late December around Christmas time, and
Hey.
been looking at tickets maybe for that Thursday game. So maybe you'll have a chance to come say hello, listener.
Maybe you will. All right, before we dive into each of the three games this week, they actually played four, but if you want to hear more about the Blackhawks game that they wound up winning, go back to the last episode, the bonus episode we did. But let's talk about the three other games that happened this week. How are you feeling about the Islanders season so far in general, John?
I think I don't want to spoil anything coming up, but I think a particular player is kind of booing them so far. I think at the end of the day, they're playing Islanders hockey. They're winning the way that we expect them to win. It's not pretty. It's kind of against the tide of analytics and things like that about whether they should win or if it's sustainable or this or that. It looked rocky to start. They had some good wins. They won some games. So you were totally right that they swept the weekend, and they played really well.
Yeah.
So they did what they had to do. They kind of pounced on a team in Vegas, even if it wasn't their best game. With some other changes going on, they took care of business. I think it's what you want to see. So so far, it's the uptick I think we all hoped for. Now it's just a matter of can they sustain it. I think this time off is interesting. So they have. I looked at the schedule. I meant to write it down about how much time they have off over the next 2 weeks versus games played. It's like 5 games in 14 days or something like that because they have this game Saturday and they have another 4 days off before they play again. And then there's like a 3-day break in there. So like between now, like over the next month, they really don't play that many games, like between now and Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm not
So
sure.
sorry to steal some thunder, but
No, it's fine. I'm not like I can't decide whether it's a good thing or a bad thing for them yet. Because if it wasn't for this 13 game road trip, I would say maybe it's not great. You want some consistency, but at the same time, this 13 game road trip. So it's like they have the chance to, especially this week. They've been in the West Coast. They have the chance to go back now and get some time at home. So that homesick feeling maybe goes away a little bit after they go back out on the road again.
yeah, I mean it's. I assume they had off Monday and probably today, maybe a video session or something. I don't know for
Right.
sure, but then they can kind of start tweaking things on the ice.
Right.
Here's what's going on. Here's the power play, which has been not looking like a typical Islanders power play. At least they're moving the puck and getting it towards the net. Different conversation.
Yeah.
But they have a chance to kind of go rework some stuff and make sure if there are problems, as we'll talk about, and there were, despite the wins and all that stuff, it just gives them a chance to kind of go fix that.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if the time off is too much, 'cause then everything gets really compact, and then you don't even have an extra day here and there to decompress. You have these long stretches. Um, they bounced back before, so nothing's. I don't think history's telling us one way or another that it's going to be bad for them. You're definitely right that it allows the players themselves and everybody to just get home
Yeah.
and
Right.
and feel a little sense of relief of that. I think it's good for the team to be on the road and camaraderie and all that, but I think it's also good for them to be able to get a chance to go home and practice at their own rink and all that kind of stuff. Just
See their
get on a regular
families
schedule
and
again.
sleep in their own bed.
Yeah,
Those are big factors for sure.
see the dogs, see your animals,
Yeah.
kids, partners, whatever. Go eat at your favorite restaurants, stuff like that. Just kind of makes you feel good. They maybe go to Blue Line Deli. I wonder if anyone. I imagine they put a baseball cap on and something like that. But they're going to some deli. They have to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if they're getting it DoorDashed or something like that, no free ads, but yeah.
Yeah. DoorDash. If I don't know, Mr. or Mrs. or whatever, however you identify DoorDash. Sure, would love it.
Yeah.
I've never used it. Have you used that
I have used it a couple of times.
or the other one?
In
Grubhub?
in quick pinches, just DoorDash, just in quick pinches because like I was like driving on my way home to from one job to the next, and I was like, I need something to like meet me there and like get done while I'm showering, going to my next place. So they just like leave it at your door, and then like you just pick it up and take it. So it's pretty cool. I've only done it like twice.
I did it when I was traveling to DC over the summer, but someone had given me a gift card, so I went and picked it up because I didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I used it. I have zero experience with it.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool service.
I mean, it's delivery. I don't know why I'm like making it sound like it's
it is, but it
weird,
charges you a little
novel
bit
concept.
extra because it's like you're paying for a service.
Yeah,
It's a little
I
more than
understand.
than like a delivery fee from or like for instance here in New York anyway. If you get pizza delivered, you're paying for the pizza. You're not paying for delivery. They pretty much mostly do free delivery here.
Yeah, you
DoorDash, you're paying for
tip
a
the
delivery
person.
fee. Yeah, well, yeah, of course, yeah. But there's
You
also a
better.
tip on DoorDash, so it's a little it's a little
Um,
different. It's a little more expensive than your.
Always tip your pizza person.
Oh yeah, of
You
course.
don't piss off the pizzeria folks,
Quick
especially
story
if you
about
really like it.
quick story about that. I used to deliver pizza, right?
You definitely deliver pizza. That
I
tracks.
used to deliver pizza,
You're a fucking
and
pizza guy.
I do like pizza. Pizza's great.
Can you change your Twitter handle to
I
pizza guy? Pizza guy NYI.
Pizza guy NYI. I like it. Quick story, and I mean it quick. I used to deliver pizza, and it was the weirdest thing. I got the same house, the same time every Friday, and I would have to bring the pizza to this guy's house, and he would leave me the exact change on his little windowsill, and it was a quarter. He left me a quarter, and I would have to slide the money under his door and leave the pizza on the mat. And he would leave me a quarter on the windowsill, and then I'd have to leave. And that was it. Every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I mean, I guess consistency good for business.
This was 10 years ago. I had to leave it on his doormat. Just leave it there. The quarter was always there waiting for me. And that was the change.
What stopped? I mean, which is ridiculous. What stopped first? Did you stop working there, or did he stop ordering?
I stopped working there. He is
Do you know
probably still doing the same thing to this day.
Man, I imagine like there are stories like someone does that and they get a pizza like Domino's or whatever, some kind of food delivered, and then it stops, and their delivery person is like, I hope they're okay, and they go there and they're like on the floor like they fell down or something like that, and thank God the delivery person showed up to like save their life.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that part of the story, but
No,
I
it was
guess
just
not
it
that.
was
Oh, I mean,
it,
I guess thank God that you didn't have to do that, and that
true.
whoever this is okay. So
I was more
we'll
referring
leave it
to the
there.
weirdness of the quarter on the windowsill. At the same time, same
I
day of the
couldn't
week.
get past that it was a shitty tip.
Well,
Forget about it's on the windowsill. It could be
that might have
anywhere. I
been what
don't.
jogged my memory when you said, always tip your delivery person. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a weird whole. It's a lot of pizza.
Yeah. Tune in
50
next week
pizzas
when I
every
tell
day.
you about my pizza box folding skills. All right.
You
So
can have a video. Next week's YouTube video.
I'll put it on the right. All right. Quick note before we get into the good and the bad. This week, after the 3 games that they played, the Islanders and Ross Johnston agreed to a 4-year extension. John, what were your thoughts on this extension?
I'm very confused because I think we all and I'm sure other folks are also confused considering um he was in the lineup. I don't think anyone thought he played particularly well in his 5 minutes and 50 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever he played. So I'm confused by this. I think I was just is this his second 4-year extension? Am I making that up?
Yes, it is. It is the same. So funny because earlier today when I texted you the info, you texted me back. Johnston got a 4-year extension, and I was like, "That this seems like deja vu," because I think this is what you said to me the last time it happened.
And it's the same. Is it the same
He's making
amount?
$100,000 more. The last AAV was 1 million. The current AAV is 1.1.
I guess I just don't understand it.
It's a raise.
I mean, for him, that's great. I mean, that it must be. I give him a lot of credit for just understanding what his role is. I mean, he keeps
Oh
signing
yeah.
the deal, right? Like,
Do you
I
think
give
he's
him a lot
making
of credit.
1.1 million anywhere else?
He could have after the season. I think that there's an appetite for him. He's not Tom Wilson. He's not as good as Tom Wilson,
Correct.
but he's better than Ryan Reeves. Like
That's
as far as
interesting.
skill, you know what I mean? Like he could
That's
be a
interesting because
regular
Ryan
fourth
Reeves is an
liner.
everyday player, and
That's what I
Ross
mean. So like, all
Johnston's
right,
not.
but I think it's because there's a Matt Martin and a Clutterbuck and a Zizekas. You have 3 players that play well together, and until they literally can't, and there's no
Right.
other option.
Well, okay, so I think that this is why this happened, right? Lou signs him to this deal, knowing he can use that cap hit to maybe put him on waivers if he needs to, knowing no one's going to claim him. He's got 4 years left, yada yada. But at the same time, he's a player who can contribute. Maybe he's not going to score 20 goals, but when he's in the lineup, he makes a difference.
So that's does he though? I think that's what I'm saying is we saw and people were not happy with his play. Granted, how often does he play? He has played in playoff games. I don't know about the last playoff run. I know the year before he got some games and he looked okay. But I think that's my question is I don't know. I mean, I think there's some nostalgia. Like he has played well before. And I don't know, maybe nostalgia is not the right word. And it's not recency bias. I think there's some kind of memory a positive memory that we have of Johnston that's really good. That's kind of clouding what we actually think of him as a player.
Didn't he score like an incredible goal on Barzal's line like 2 seasons ago?
I mean, I'm gonna guess he probably drove to the net. Yeah, that's what he's gonna do. He's a giant human being with a long stick. He's gonna If I had to guess, it was an odd man rush or something, and he just drove the net and he tapped it home.
Yeah.
But he played 12 games last year. He played 32 the year before, and then 17 the year before that.
Yeah.
I don't know. He played 1 game this year. It was a -1, and that was it.
And
Fans were dying to get Martin back in the lineup. So unless they know something we don't, like I've said this before, and I really don't want this to be the case. If Clutterbuck is really toast after this year, if he's He's still young, right? So it wouldn't necessarily be for age, and he does look much better this season. He's two
Oh yeah.
real good snipes
Yes.
this season. Um, his contract is up now.
Yeah.
The prevailing thought is that with Casey Zizekas' new deal and Matt Martin also having a deal at 1.5, Zekas is at 2.5. If they can get Clutterbuck at 2 or 2.5, whatever, that gets that fourth line cost down considerably. Now,
Yeah.
if he doesn't agree, or I don't know why he would retire, because he looks much more healthy this season than he
I
has.
agree.
So and before seeing that, what I said over the summer was I wouldn't be surprised if this was the last year. Now I would be, because unless something happens to him, which I hope it doesn't, I see him resigning, which makes the Johnston signing all the more curious, because where is he going? They're hoping that a Ratu or another forward can step in for Parise in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is pretty much locked up, save for Pavilier's safe for a while.
So
I'm not sure where the opening is outside of Parise, and Johnson sure shit isn't a third liner.
a couple of things on this. I think one, going back to, I said that I think he does make a difference when he's on the ice, and I don't think it's a huge difference where it's like, he's the reason why they scored 4 goals that game, whether he put the puck in himself or started the play. I don't think it's that. I think it's when he's on the ice, other players are like looking over their shoulder. They're not. Nobody wants to get into it with him.
Don't
So
the Islanders already have that? I'm
they
saying, like,
they
who's out?
do, but I
If
think if it's not Martin, for some reason, if Martin has to be out, I think Johnston's that guy. I think Clutterbuck
it
brings.
wasn't though, it was Komarov. Like they showed that he got one game, Komarov got the other.
Well, yeah, but now they have. So okay. Now that you just said that, to me, I'm thinking Johnston in the starting next year is now Komarov, because Komarov's in the AHL. And I think the thing with that is,
They were
if
gonna treat him like
Komarov,
Komarov.
right,
Well,
if
to some
Komarov was
degree.
making $1 million like Johnston is, he wouldn't be in the AHL right now. I think the reason why Komarov's in the AHL right now is only because he makes $3 million, and they need that relief.
I don't disagree, but the issue is that Komarov is, and we're comparing bottom 6 players here, or even fourth line players.
No, I know, but I think it's
Komarov
just the
offers
point.
way more. Ross Johnson doesn't kill penalties.
Well,
He's not as good as a skater. He doesn't have, like, for all intents and purposes, Komarov is a better player.
Here's the thing.
At what they do. I mean, Johnston is just a big human being.
I think you're right. I don't disagree with you, but there's something here that everyone got together, and meaning Lou and Barry and even Ross, they all got together and they said, "We like what you bring. You're not an every night guy, and if he agrees to that, obviously he did. Great, but we like what you bring on the ice, but more importantly, we like what you bring off the ice. And your role is this, and we want you to continue that role for the next 4 years." And I think he said to himself, "You know what? I have the opportunity to lift a cup here. Whether I'm on the ice for 82 games or not, I can win a championship here. And I have a great relationship with these guys in the locker room, and I want to see this through.
He's only been in the Islanders system.
He's only right. This is the team that gave me a chance. They signed me. I was undrafted. So, I want to see this through. I think that something special is going on here, and I want to be a part of it. And I think that's as simple as what it is. At $1.1 million for 4 years, that's nothing. That's nothing. And it's great depth. This is what Lamoriello is doing. He's trying to make sure that not only is this team built for the regular season, but they're built for a deep postseason. You need depth, and he's doing it with. You saw it already with Pelech. You saw it already with Polak. These guys are taking lesser deals because it's we before me.
I,
And
I think that's right. It's a
and
lot
I'm
of that
not I'm
Boston
not saying
Bruins
that
kind of
Ross
thing.
Johnston is as important to the team as Pelech and Pulock. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. But it's the point that he's solidifying the depth. He no longer has to go out and pay a Komarov $3 million. He can convince a Ross Johnston to be a 13th, 14th forward for $1 million and say, hey, we're going to win. And now I have depth in the postseason in case someone goes down.
I mean, yeah, if Martin does go down or Clutterbuck does go down, well, in the playoffs, Komarov is back with the Islanders. Oh, and he immediately slots in above Johnson because there's no salary cap, so it doesn't matter. So if Clutterbuck or Martin goes down, I'd be willing to bet, as much as I'd again like to think Johnson is a replacement for Martin. This was supposed to be quick. If Martin if Martin goes down, I'd like to think Johnson goes in.
Yeah.
I still think it's Komarov because he can kill penalties.
I
Why
mean,
not
not right
add
now,
that?
though. It's not that now. Because
No, but they're
Komarov
also
is in the AHL.
yeah, but luckily you got Parise there. It's not the same, but luckily you have him there, and he's playing well in that
Right.
particular role. And
Right.
Parise is an upgrade on Komarov. I think that's fine.
Don't say that with a question mark. He's an upgrade.
Yes. So I and he does come off the books. Komarov's contract's done this season. This is his last year.
Yes.
So yeah, if you're looking for that 14th forward, Johnson's for sure that player. Depending on what there's an off season and a whole season we have to get through before we should really think about that.
Yeah.
So I don't even have my mind wrapped around the current season. Forget about next off season. I just know that there's a couple $1 million or a few number of $1 million coming off the books.
Yeah.
Even with Clutterbuck re-signing or something.
I think they're gonna have. I think before Pulock signed his extension, they had something like $21 million available. So minus the $6 million that Pulock signed, and that's how much they have, with only really Dobson, who's a dire need to re-sign. So they got a bit of money to play with next offseason. And just a last note on the Johnston thing you did mention earlier. Clutterbuck's deal does end. I think you're right. I think they both. I'm sorry. I think Clutterbuck does end up re-signing. I don't think he's going to retire. I know we have mentioned this before. He looked a little. Maybe he was losing it. He was shaking an injury or trying to shake an injury. He just couldn't. But he looks much better this year, so I don't foresee that being a thing. And he was protected from Seattle. I don't think they did that just for one season. So it's you're right. It's like, what's going on here? Is Johnston going to become a regular fourth liner? What's going to happen? But listen, at $1.1 million, not a big deal. It's a good signing for depth purposes. And again, obviously they like something that they see on and off the ice with Johnston. He wants to be there, so can't really argue this deal. All right. Who has stood out to you, John, in the past week? The Islanders have gone 3-0-1 this week. Who stood out?
I think they haven't scored a ton of goals. So I know I'm starting negative here, and we're talking about good stuff. They haven't scored a ton of goals. However, it's been pretty balanced. They've gotten help. They're all, in the 2 wins, they score 5 goals. It was pretty spread out. It continues to kind of be spread out. Even in the Chicago game, Wallstrom had 2 goals. Am I making that up? Was that the game he had 2 goals?
No, you're not.
Even in the Columbus loss, which was really hard to watch, you're getting a goal from every line in one way or another. I know they've kind of mixed things up a little bit. That's kind of my good for right now. There's an obvious one too, but
right.
To me,
you got Clutterbuck who's scoring, Wallstrom, like you said.
Bailey's got one. Bavillier's getting one. Nelson's got a few. Barzell's shooting the puck. Thank God.
Barzell,
maybe that's my good thing.
2 nights ago or 2 games ago.
He's finally. I think we recognized this last season, right? Particularly around the time where he had that ridiculous between your legs goal in against Buffalo. That God, on those sweet jerseys that are just the 2002. They're not the 2002 throwbacks, but they are to me.
They're in the void of nothingness right now because they can't be used again.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I should buy one. Anyway, um, just spend my money all the time. Um, he clearly had this confidence.
Yeah.
Like it was very different Matthew Barzal than what we've seen. Not that he wasn't in the past, but it's um this different prowess that he has, like around the net. Like he wants to shoot the puck. Maybe he's just seeing the success of Wallstrom and be like, oh, is that what happens? Just shoot the puck, like be a little selfish here and there. Like
Yeah.
he's getting a lot of success there. So I think my favorite thing is that, and so far as far as the good stuff, and just kind of balanced scoring, like you need in the playoffs. I think they just kind of have that from throughout the lineup. I'd like to see a little more from the back end.
That we'll talk about the bad.
But
this is the good.
No, I meant scoring. Like it's the potential. All the potential in the world is there.
Yeah.
They're having different, more pressing issues they need to deal with first. But yes, I think the balanced scoring to me is the good.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. One of the things that we love to talk about is how Trotz likes to roll 4 lines. So 100%. Yeah, absolutely. But you can't talk about the good without mentioning Ilya Sorokin. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Oh my God. My God. Listen, he had 2 tough games to start the season, and I can't even fault him for those starts. The team did not play well in front of him. So it was just like, yeah, Sorokin let up 5 goals, 4 goals in a game, or I think it was 5 and 6. 5 and 6, 11 total. And then he just rebounds. And like you said earlier, very well said, he buoyed the Islanders on this West Coast trip. And the numbers were insane. He went 3-0-1. He had 2 shutouts on back-to-back nights, the first ever Islanders goaltender to do so. And he had a .99 goals against average and a .971 save percentage. I mean, and he should have had 3 shutouts. He let up a last-minute, literally, goal against the Blackhawks.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't discount.
God.
And I saw a few people.
He stopped 137 pucks out of 140 shots that he faced.
He wants to play. He said that in one of the post game media availabilities.
Yeah,
that you get that momentum, and he's hungry to play. He's still young. He's in his mid to late 20s, and he's just wants to be in the net.
Yeah, he said it. I think last year too. I like the consistency. I like playing more. I like a busier workload. And then he reiterated that after the Coyotes win, and he said, I like playing more. I like playing more often than not. And when you're playing more games, you get in a groove and you feel good. And he just said it. I'm seeing the puck really well right now. So, man, he has really. He's really shown why the Islanders were so patient and persistent with him when he was in the KHL. And it's paying dividends. He is the absolute future of the goaltending for the New York Islanders. And no slight to Varlamov, who we'll talk about later. But Sorokin has just been outstanding.
It's his second NHL season. I think we need to kind of remember that. And
his second NHL season, and he played under 20 games in his first.
22.
It was 22 total? Okay, so he played 22 games in the NHL, and he's already putting up fantastic numbers again.
I think just a quick thing. So he's played 6 games so far. He's 3-2-1.
Yeah.
Really, obviously really good numbers. He had 3 shutouts in 22 games last year. Just put that in some perspective.
He's already got 2, and there's 70 something more games left to play. I can't math, but he's got 2 already.
Yeah,
that's got to lead the NHL right now. I would assume.
You know what? I didn't look that up beforehand. I think this is also against 2 teams he hasn't seen ever. He's never played against these teams.
Yes.
Now, granted, I don't think he's seen all of these teams that they played.
Right.
Certainly not. Was Columbus in the division last year? They just changed. These things changed too much. I don't think that they were.
Right.
So not certainly not Vegas, Arizona, Columbus, Chicago, or the other two games. Again, Florida. They didn't see Florida. So yeah,
they didn't see Carolina,
and they didn't see Carolina.
So in the NHL, so far this season, there's been 5 shutouts. Sorokin has 2. He's the only one with 2. He leads the league, obviously. Seems good to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to just kind of pull it up the bagels the rest of the way, but
no,
he can play really well, and I think the 1A 1B thing really works just as much as this works. I know he wants to play, but he can't. He's not going to play every game. Certainly not back to backs. They got real lucky there that he's that hungry and energetic.
Yeah.
Granted, I think they only really did it because they knew they had a bunch of days off afterwards. And then, they had the time to travel home and kind of rest. I don't think that's a regular thing. It also shows that they really, really didn't want to play Schneider.
Yeah, well,
which feels terrible, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's obvious that Trotz has been hesitant, but the thing is too, Sorokin didn't have a really that big of a workload against Arizona, where Trotz said we had the conversation, we went back and we spoke about, how do you feel? And he was like, oh, I feel good. And then the next morning he was like, yeah, I'm playing. So
he had 26 shots, which is not nothing. It's still NHL.
Yeah,
but it's not that big of a deal,
right? So yeah, can't mention the good without mentioning Sorokin, who's just been outstanding. The fourth line looks more like themselves with Martin returning. I did want to talk about that quickly, just because it's a quick note. Prior to him being in the lineup, we spoke about this with talking about Johnston before. They looked a little out of sync. Now it's like, okay, we're back. Best fourth line in hockey again.
The fourth line stirs the drink. So if they're going, they're the energy, they're the identity line. That I guess it can be overused, but that's the truth with this team. So when they're going, the rest of the team goes.
Yeah.
It's the same as when Barzal's really skating and all that kind of stuff too. But this line's really important to them moving forward, which is scary to think about one day that they won't be. But we're not there, and I'm enjoying them while they are here. So they look much better since Martin's back.
Yeah. Let's talk about Zach Parise. Parise had a very, very good, noticeable game against the Vegas Golden Knights. And, it wasn't just the fact that he played very well in the offensive zone. He was doing so much in his own end. He looked really fast. And I know he's a fast player, but, he's up there in age. He's 37. So I didn't expect him to still be as fast as, I know him to be. And maybe it won't be consistent, but he looked very fast in his last game. Really good on the forecheck in the neutral zone, creating turnovers, forcing turnovers, playing the puck well on the wall. And then, when we'll talk about this later, he got some shifts with Barzal and a couple of really good scoring chances that, Robin Lehner had to actually make a couple of really good saves that prevented him from scoring his first goal as an Islander. He actually doesn't have a point yet.
It'll come.
It'll come, especially if he keeps playing like that. He looked really good.
I like that. I like that this is a point for you because I think what I was saying in the past was he wasn't in people's mouths at all. Everyone's like, yeah, he's doing fine. And I think that was good enough, honestly. If that was all season, we're like, oh yeah, Parise's on the team.
Yeah.
If that is what we said and we kind of forgot about him, not in a bad way, until the playoffs, where assuredly he would have like some hat trick in a really important game. But yeah, I like that he's kind of standing out in a good way and that he's kind of expanding on his role a little bit. He obviously is gaining the trust of Trotz, which is great. Getting some time, with some kind of different players.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I think it's good.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about Parise later because there's a couple of other good things that he brings to the table, but they're in our later notes. Let's talk about the bad that's happening right now. Uh, and I want to start. Listen, everybody knows the blue line is struggling, right? Trotz has mixed up the defensive pairs. One of the things that I'm noticing, and this is an obvious reason or an obvious void in the lineup, because Nick Leddy was traded and they lost Devin Tays 2 seasons ago. The transitions are not good right now.
Is
And
it
it's
the exits or just like the breakouts? What to you is specific around that?
so it's tough because one, they're having a hard time in their own zone clearing the pucks, getting it over or out of their own zone, whether it's the forwards or the defenseman. And if a defenseman does get the puck in the defensive zone and he has room to skate it out of any potential danger, it just seems like something is always happening where the puck just slips off their stick or they try to make a forward pass and it's intercepted. Just they can't get out of their own way, the defense. It's just
Do you think it's just the different pairings enough are making it uncomfortable? I don't think anyone's playing on their off wing or some or offside.
no one is, no. Um and Trotz did say that there's still a little bit of a getting to know going on in on the blue line. Think about it. The forwards minus Parise and Palmieri have primarily been together for a while, so they all know each other. They can all.
Palmieri's been was on the team, so
Yeah, no,
it's
he
a lot
was.
less of a transition for him
Yeah, I no, you're
than
right.
Parise.
But primarily the rest have been together for years now, so it's not as evident there as it is on the blue line. I think Chara played well against Arizona. He did not play well against Vegas. However, I don't think he played as bad as the first two games, especially against Florida, where he was a -4. I think it's just I'm inclined to believe that right now it's not yet, at least. I don't think it's his age catching up to him just yet. I think it's that he's just still trying to learn his place in this lineup. It's different than what he's been, with the Capitals. And I think he even took a little bit of a lesser role with the Bruins in his later years. I don't want to say he's been dependent on more um with the Islanders, but he did play 20 minutes against the Coyotes.
Yeah, you keep saying that, and every time I'm like, man, I hope he wouldn't, play like a whole lot. It's hard to kind of notice sometimes the defenders, unless they're getting power play time and so on and so forth. But
Right.
yeah, you keep mentioning that his numbers are up there. I think, or rather, I mean, I'll ask the question well before I give my answer and give a little bit of insight from Staple. But like, are they just committed to him? Are they just like he's there and that's what it is, or what's the what are you thinking there? Because
Yeah.
I've said before in other episodes that I'm not completely excited about him. I think the team around him. So not only is he learning it, but they're trying to learn him after they were very used to that decor for quite a while. A lot of those players came up and Letty was just there. It's kind of like when they lost Boychuk, trying to go through the ebb and flows of like, all right, we're used to kind of this type of player.
Yeah.
Um, Now throwing Chara into the mix, they also have to learn where he's putting the puck and all of that. So it might just be on both sides, it just being a difficult transition.
I don't want to say that they're sitting there saying to themselves, "Oh, we signed this guy, we have to play him." So I don't know if it's like, "Oh, we're committed to him because we signed him, and then we don't want to embarrass ourselves by benching him." I don't think it's that. However, you made a note of here, Sebastian Aho is yet to be on the ice.
Well, yeah, that was the staple quote, and
Hmm.
I can read it. The evidence
Sure.
continues to pile up that Trotz doesn't see Sebastian Aho as a regular substitute on defense. Saturday or Sunday would have been ideal times for him to work in and give Chara a rest, which what we said.
Yeah,
We
I
expected
totally
this.
agree with that.
We expected that to happen, even against Arizona,
Yeah,
saying, "Okay, Vegas is a tougher opponent. Let's save his energy for that. If we are committed to Chara and working on him and whatever, let's save his energy for that. He's 44, and get Aho some time." But they didn't. Um, it's Stable goes on to say, but Trotz doesn't seem to believe Aho can stand up to the heavier opponent.
right.
I don't know which one of those. Like I said, Arizona is not exactly the heavier opponent, so I don't really know what he means there.
So
Um,
I don't know. Maybe Trotz wanted to let Chara get more acclimated against Arizona because he knew, maybe that was a game where he could get away with that kind of a thing. And then he
that might
didn't
not be wrong.
trust, Aho to play well against a powerhouse like Vegas. And although Vegas is not off to the best of starts, they're still an elite team in this league.
They have a lot of injuries. I mean,
They do.
they're also gonna, you have a slow start every now and again in a season and this
Sure.
and that. Like between Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's even still time to kind of make up some ground. So it's not even the end of the world if you're not in a playoff position by Thanksgiving. So we learned over the last number of years. So yeah, I think I'm just as confused. I don't understand exactly what the plan is. I
Yeah.
do agree with Staple that it's clear that they don't trust Aho, or they would have already tried to get him some time. You
Which
know,
is so bizarre to me too, because Trotz went out of his way in the preseason to talk about how good Aho looked, and it looked like he had made strides.
and that they were going to work him in. Like
Right.
he I don't know what prompted that. I don't know if there was a question that led to him saying that.
So
It's
I
still
think,
confusing.
yeah, I think ultimately what the issue on the blue line is that they're still trying to figure out who's going to be the puck mover, who's going to be the Letty, and if it's not going to be Aho, he plays that style. If it's not going to be him, is it going to be Dobson, who was put back with Green? Is it
I
going to
think it needs to
be?
be. I don't think they
Well,
have a choice.
I
I think that
agree.
was what that needed to be what the plan was.
Yeah. Is it gonna be, Adam Pelech finding another level to his game? Is it gonna be Ryan Pulak, who's not the best skater, but can he find that in his game? It's not gonna be Mayfield. Oh, well, sorry, it's not gonna be Chara. I do want to talk about Mayfield for a quick second. His skating is severely underrated. I
I think I said this last week or one of the things, and you laughed at me a little or scoffed at me rather, that he's Adam Pelech light in a good way, in that he has that upside.
I
He has that just like Pelech does that physicality to his game, but he does have these flashes of offensive ability. Like Pelech has shown like leaps and bounds that he's a really kind of graceful skater, gets the puck out of
yeah.
trouble, kind of stuff like that. But Mayfield has his moments.
Listen, I will admit it took me back a little bit when you said he's a Pelech light, but you convinced me. You gave me your reasons, and I don't disagree with you. But there was one play in particular during what was it, Sunday night's game against Vegas, where Mayfield picked up the puck behind the net, and he saw a defender circling to try and pick his pocket, and he made this little move and then got by him and skated the puck into transition, and it created a scoring chance and an opportunity, and that little thing that he did, I immediately tweeted out, see that little thing, that little move that Mayfield put on? His skating continues to be underrated. He's a big guy, 6'4". He's heavy, but he skates really well for his size. So I'm not going to sit
He's
here and
not
say
much
he's
smaller than Pelech or bigger
no.
than Pelech.
I
Like
think he's a little bigger.
yeah, I think
He's the
I'd
biggest
agree with
on
that.
the well, besides Chara. He was the biggest on the team at one point.
Yeah, I don't know how we just forget.
I totally forgot about Chara for a
That.
minute.
That's
For the
actually
longest
really
time, he
quite
was the
funny.
biggest. He was the biggest defender on the team.
Yeah, that checks out. Can I just say a quick
Yeah,
Chara thing? So
yeah.
as a kid, and I don't know if I think I showed you off camera like one of these times, but I have a plaque with a hockey card in it that's signed by Chara. Um,
Wow.
I think I put the story up on Twitter when they signed him that back in the day when Charles Wong owned the team, and owned Computer Associates, they would bring in these players to the office, and my mom would tell me, all right, these are the players coming. And I'd go to my hockey card collection or whatever I had, and I'd pick out all the cards of the players that
Really
were coming.
cool.
So like Chris Osgood, I have like really weird players. Claude Lapointe, Chris Osgood, and Chara. So I have, for whatever reason, I brought it to Syracuse with me, and it's right on my desk. So I look at Zdeno Chara every day from 2000, 2001 or whenever this card's from. Maybe 99, 2000.
Yeah.
That might be when it's from.
And the very next day, he was traded to Ottawa. Sad.
Oh, man. That was... Oh my! All right, can we just really quickly, because this really should be in the around the rink section, but we'll say
Sure.
now. Did you see Milbury's comment? Just because like stupid Milbury shit, like trading Chara and all that other stuff.
Shocking. What did he say this time?
He pretty much called Wayne Gretzky boring on the TNT broadcast.
Oh my god!
He was like, I think his words were, "I needed a cup of coffee."
Can I borrow his shoes so I could throw it at him?
Dude, he should just eat his own shoes. There are like Roenick and Milbury, and it's just like all these people just are so dumb sometimes. I'm sure they have their moments. I haven't seen them. I don't know where you point me at a good moment with Milbury. You'd be hard pressed to find.
You'd be pointing nowhere.
One of my long running articles that is just popular forever in perpetuity with the hockey writers is the worst Milbury moves. People are Googling that shit every day. But yeah, that quick side note, just a early Milbury kind of stuff, and then he kind of just follows it up, and you're like, all right, it's really good. We're really glad that NBC didn't just continue to get this contract, because then he would have stayed on the air, and that's the kind of stupidity we're dealing with. But
thank God he's a memory at this point.
Yeah,
not a well liked memory, not a pleasant one, but a memory no less.
A nightmare, recurring nightmare.
So there were a few changes, tweaks to the lineup, starting with the forward group. Josh Bailey's on line 1. Kyle Palmieri's on line 2. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Should we see more of this?
I wonder if it's a long-term thing. Trotz has proved that he can. I mean, we know he's a really good coach. He's not proving anything, but
he is. Okay,
he's Hockey Hall of Famer, blah blah. He has pushed the right buttons. I think that's the word that everybody was using in the playoffs years ago, and they're making moves. And 2 years ago, every time he kind of pushed a button, he moved Broussard, he did this, he did that. It seemed to work. And this kind of thing, I think it was to get Bailey going more than it was to get Palmieri going. That first line was working. Barzal is doing what he needs to do. So I think as long as it's working, leave it alone. If Bailey works on that line with Barzal, you don't need Palmieri there. You don't need to just have somebody to point to say you are our first line right winger. I don't think that's necessary. I know as a team they don't care about that, but even on my side, like I don't care that it's not some elite winger. Bailey's played on the first line before. He's had success with high-powered centers. I think it's fine as long as it's working. As long as they're getting points. They connected for a beautiful goal the other night, and Barzal pointed right at him, clearly saying, "All you." Love to
all
see,
you.
It. I don't know. I mean, it's a disher on that line. If Barzal's shooting the puck and Lee's in front of the net, you got someone that's going to get the puck there. Everyone keeps, I think what everyone on that team would tell you is that he's one of the smartest players. Even though it's hard for us to see at times, believe it or not, none of us are professional hockey players. I think it's just one of those things. Use it until it doesn't work anymore. And I mean, there were other changes as well here and there, and some shifts too. But yeah, I think you as a coach, if you're all your players are kind of rolling, it's a good time to you don't want to do it when you're losing, because then it feels desperate. Kind of tweak some stuff as you're going, and all right, I can, if I need to, like maybe we can do this every once in a while. I can put late in the game, I can do that, and blah blah blah. you're starting to see, duos of players kind of stick together and only some players moving around. I think that's good. I think that's healthy for him to know who can play with who. So you do it when it's positive instead of
Yeah.
when you feel like you need to mix it up because nothing's working. Um, that's fine with me. It was never, I don't think it was like a knock on Palmieri's game that he wasn't
No.
going. Um,
No.
so I think it's fine.
So, a couple things on this, and I'm glad you said that he recognized it because part of the reason and partially why he did this was because he did say that he felt Beauvillier, Nelson, and Bailey were a little stale, and he said that's because it could be because they played together for so long. Maybe they need just a little bit of a different look. Um,
Yeah, that's probably
and
right.
so
Where
he
it wasn't
admitted that.
Palmieri so much as the second line that needed
Yeah,
the
yeah,
jolt.
yeah. It was more the second line. So he flipped Palmieri and Bailey, and interesting move because when he did claim that there was going to be changes in the lineup, I think a lot of people actually had Palmieri and Wallstrom flipping
Because
instead.
that was just the narrative all summer,
Yeah,
that it was the 2 of them competing for that spot,
right.
where neither of them really have that experience with the skill that Barzal has, and I'll be the first one to admit that I didn't see Bailey there either, but it does make sense. He has the experience. He's
Yeah.
put up 50 assist seasons,
Well, I think it would
alongside
have
elite
been.
talent. It's not
I
crazy.
I think it would have been less surprising if it was just Bailey and Wallstrom who flipped, and Wallstrom got in the top six, and Bailey was playing on the third line. I think it would have been less surprising than Bailey going to the first line. Now,
I
that being
think that
said,
Trotz likes 11 and 26 together. I think
right,
that's
I
the
agree.
thing there.
That being said, Bailey's leading the team in points. So there are a lot of naysayers out there, but Josh Bailey does a lot of things well. He also does a lot of things maybe not great, but there's no perfect player out there, whether you want to agree with that or not. So Josh,
I'm mostly a detractor of Bailey. Um, but yeah, it's tough to argue against
listen,
success.
he like you said, Barzell scored that game win. Well, I shouldn't say that second goal against Vegas, and it was due to how good of a job Bailey did on the forecheck. Got him the puck, forced a or won a puck battle on the boards, and got
Yeah,
Barzell a
kept the
puck,
puck
and
in.
Barzell scored. And
He's a good
immediately,
passer. Like, I
yeah,
don't think there's a player on the team that passes as well, and especially in tight areas. Like, I mean, save for Barzell and Wallstrom does a
right.
really good job because he really fires that puck
Yes,
across.
he does.
He has good vision and he gets the puck there. Very
Yes, he
rarely
does.
is it's not going to get picked off very often, especially in the
No, I
power
agree.
play. But Bailey, I mean, as far as a player that does it on a consistent basis and that's his game, yeah, it's hard to argue against what he's been able to do throughout his career, especially the last 5 seasons when he shouldn't be getting better. He's kind of found a way to keep, and good players adapt and figure out what their game needs to be. Um,
Yeah,
just get Barzell the puck, Lee goes to the net. That's fine.
yeah, I like it a lot. But there was another interesting development that was happening in the midst of the Golden Knights game. And not only did these lineup changes happen where Bailey was bumped up and Palmieri was put with Beauvillier and Nelson, but it appears that Trotz, on the occasion, on a few shifts, and then he would go back to his previous trios, and then maybe mix it up again after. He had Barzell playing with Parise and Wallstrom, and Peugeot playing with Lee and Bailey, and that happened a couple of times. And I gotta say, the Parise Barzell Wallstrom line looked really good, like
It's a lot of
threateningly
energy.
good, threateningly good. Like I said earlier, Parise found another gear, looked real fast in that game. Wallstrom continues to be very impressive this year. It was like in the preseason, Trotz made his comments on not having the best camp, and there is now a fire under his ass. And he is making sure that he is going to be a staple in this lineup. And in my opinion, their best forward this season so far, Oliver Wallstrom. Um, But that Barzal, Parise, Wallstrom line looked really good. There was a one tic-tac-toe play. I think uh, Wallstrom had the puck in the slot, moved it over to Barzal in the left circle, and quickly he got it to Parise in the right circle, and Leonard was forced to make a very nice save. But that could have been Parise's first goal as an Islander. It would have been a very nice goal. Regardless, the play itself was great, and I could see a lot of chemistry between those three. So I like what I saw from that line. I wonder if we continue to see it happen. I also kind of like what I saw from Trotz making that decision. These lines have been together a long time, and that simple switch of Barzell and Peugeot. Listen, we talk about it all the time. This team has like 3-second lines. So that little switch, keeping things fresh, making the opponents, have to maybe guess like, okay, I haven't seen this trio together before. What are they going to do?
Well, like I
Keeping
said,
them on their toes.
I think just doing it during a time when it's positive, where it doesn't seem like it's disciplined to the players.
Yeah.
It allows you to see who can play with other people. Someone goes down with an injury, blah blah blah. It's good to have that. It's good to know if they do get into a funk, you know where you don't need to find out what's going to work. You can go to things that work. Okay,
Yeah.
you can switch 21 and 12 back. You can throw Peugeot up with that line and Barzell with Parise and Walsham and go that way too. I think there's a lot of good that can come from that. I think that's a veteran coaching move by Trotz to
Yeah.
do that and know it now. Again, I think it's a lot harder when you're in a negative mindset. It seems like discipline to players when you're moving them around. Instead of now, it's like, yeah, great. We get to play with everybody. Everyone likes everybody. It's a team game. They all know their role. He's only switching players that make sense to switch.
I think
Right.
it's interesting that you say that it's happening in a positive time, which, yes, there are plenty of positives happening, especially because, they crawled out of the bottom of the Metropolitan Division and they accrued, what was it, 7 points this week, right? Is that accurate? 3-0-1? Yeah, 7. But Trotz did say that this team has another level. And I don't think that he's necessarily happy with the team overall.
No,
So,
I think as I say, two things can be true,
yes.
and they're winning. If they were losing and this was happening and he didn't like it, I think that weighs on the players. That they're winning, they're getting the bounce, they're still getting bounce scoring as we spoke about. I think it's easier to do at this moment to find that. Same thing with the D. All right, you kind of turn things around. You're figuring things out. It's a lot easier to learn when you're at least winning and you're winning the Islander way. You're not winning off something like a hit off some player's ass in the net and this kind of thing. And you got lucky they hit 13 posts in a game, and like they're winning with the goalies first and decent defensive play and bounce scoring. Eventually, it works out. I don't think it's as good as they can be.
Yeah.
It's not as good as the expectations were for them. Certainly, 7 of 8 points isn't bad either. The last 4 games, so take that.
Yeah, no, totally.
So it could have just like that. Man, you felt that line A goal coming in overtime. They had essentially a 3-on-2 with a stick break and OT. And then line A goes in, and you think he's going to score on the first shot. Then he gets a second opportunity. And you're like, that happens every single time where that player just has too much time. And a player like that, he's scoring every time. He's too good. So that was disappointing. So that really, could have, they were a good pass away and not kind of fumbling their way around on a 3-on-2 essentially from being 8-8 in 4 games, and that would have been incredible. And then again, they were 30 seconds away, less than a minute away from another shutout for Sorokin.
Yeah.
So they could have been 4-0 and 3 shutouts in that time. That would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
But at least they're winning, is my point. It's easier to make these moves now.
Yeah, no,
and it keeps everybody upbeat. Where you
it's
can
a good
have that
point.
conversation.
They are winning. But however, and I like this, Trotz did say this team has another level and we need to find it. So it's good of him to not, just be happy with what's, the product of the points that they accrued. I like that he's saying to himself, "Yeah, we're winning, but there's a lot more here that we're not hitting." So,
Definitely.
um, that could change, although Sorokin has been so great. But Semyon Varlamov is returning. He actually, as we're recording this, came off injured reserve. Um, so he's returning, and you saw that as Schneider was put on waivers. You saw that coming. They have 5 days off of game action this week, so the timing seemed right. Some did expect that he would get a start this weekend in the back to back. I guess he just wasn't, completely confident in his overall health. So he opted to stay on injured reserve for an extra day or two because, like they said, they left it up to him. But regardless, Semyon Varlamov is returning. Beckons the question: does Barry Trotz have a hard decision to make? We spoke about how good Sorokin has been. What happens next?
I think they go back to what they were doing. Sorokin, it may be more even starts than I said over the summer. It may be closer to 40, 41, 40, 41 for the season. Varlamov has some catching up to do, so you may see at the end of the season Sorokin up 5-6 games on Varlamov. I think it makes it an interesting, like, we can predict what the Islanders do going into the playoffs. That, I think, is a hard decision. You're forecasting way ahead.
Yeah.
But I think if by the end of the season, maybe it looks like 43-37. I don't know if that equals 82 games. I can't do quick math like that.
Math.
I don't math good. 43 plus 37, 82. So something like that. Whatever it is, 44, 37, whatever that split is going to be. Sorokin may just have 6 more starts.
Yeah.
They may split it going forward. And by the end of the season, Sorokin may have more starts on paper.
Hey, everybody. We just want to talk to you real quick about our sponsors over at DraftKings. NFL fans, are you hungry for the big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So here's what you do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers apply. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Do you know what's spookier than seeing a black cat on Halloween? It's shaving your balls with anything other than Manscaped. When it comes to the below-the-waist grooming, there's no need to carve your pumpkins this Halloween because Manscaped is here to upgrade your grooming experience. Go from a bite-sized candy bar to a king-size candy bar and join 2 million men worldwide by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with code NHB20. Unlock your confidence with the Performance Package 4.0. Inside, you'll find the holy grail of men's grooming items. They've made it easy for you to upgrade your grooming routine. It's a full moon out and the werewolf in your pants is howling. It's time to tackle that problem with the Lawnmower 4.0. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. They have a bunch of other life-changing products on their website, so be sure to check it out. Get 20% off and free shipping with code NHB20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code NHB20 at manscaped.com. Say trick or treat to your beautiful new Halloweenie with Manscaped.
Would you be surprised if on
I'm surprised
Saturday,
a lot. I'm always
be surprised on Saturday in Nashville if Semyon Varlamov starts?
I don't think so. I think they've had that discussion that when Varlamov's ready, he's coming back, and it doesn't mean like they've had the conversation with Sorokin. It doesn't mean anything. Um, they obviously trust him. And they depended on him very heavily the last 4 games, and he's done what he's done his part. So I think they're having that conversation with him. He's gonna get the start eventually. Like if Varlamov's
No, you're
going
right.
to start at some point. Now, either all right. I'll say this. Thinking I'm externally processing as we do the show because I don't have this written down. I think there's no good way to do this because here are the 2 ways that it plays out. Sorokin starts this past Sunday. If he doesn't start against Nashville, that's like 10 days in between games. So that's tough.
Right.
Varlamov still hasn't played yet.
That's different.
So maybe Sorokin does start.
Right. No, I was just asking if you'd be surprised because
I know I was thinking through it, and that's I don't know one way or another. I think if Varlamov starts, it means Sorokin has a lot of time between games. Not to say that Sorokin just starts the following game just because they have to go back and forth. Maybe they just because there is time off, they play Varlamov again. He gets 2 starts in a row just because there's a lot of time between the games. And then when it starts picking up every other game, they start going back and forth again or whatever the deal is. I don't know what the right answer is. I think I'm not going to be surprised either way. But I could see I could see the rationale for both. For either one starting.
The way I see
Varlamov's already not played, so you may as well just keep him out and get him in.
Yeah.
I don't know where Nashville doesn't strike me as like a super good team. So is that one that Varlamov can just go in and play well against? Again,
acclimated.
Although it gives Sorokin a lot of time on the bench. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what that looks like.
The way I see it, I feel like, and I could be. This is just the way I would do things. And obviously I'm not behind the bench for good reason, but if it were me, I would ride my hot hand. A couple of factors. One being how much time, like you said, would be in between starts, and Varlamov just simply hasn't played yet. But 2, Sorokin's gotten the Islanders where they are through 6 games, and he had an incredible week this week. Really showed why he can be depended on as a starter, and not just a starter, but he's an elite goaltender. So I would ride him until he puts up a stinker, and then that's like, okay,
you got to get
you need
Varlamov in the
you need
net,
a break.
though.
No, you're right, and I don't mean to sit here and say, play him every game, but I don't know. Maybe he should get the majority of starts for now. Maybe it's a 70-30 split, a 60-40 split in favor of Sorokin for now because of how well he's been playing. And then when that stinker comes, it's like, okay, you need a bit of a break. We've been using you a lot. Varlamov is just as capable. Let's give you guys a 50-50 split.
So maybe prediction here based on absolutely nothing. Sorokin plays Saturday. Gets Varlamov at least onto the bench with the team he's practicing as a regular. He starts against the Canadiens on the 4th. Then Sorokin gets to start against the Jets, and then back to Varlamov because it's a back-to-back game. Back to Varlamov against the Wild on the 7th. So eventually you get 2 out of in the 3 games closer together, the 4th, the 6th, and the 7th. Varlamov's getting 2 starts. Sorokin's getting 1.
Yeah, could be.
So that might be my prediction.
All right. Let's talk about what's going on down in Bridgeport. A couple of prospects doing well in the junior Islander system. And actually, I should also note, not just in the AHL, but a couple of prospects doing well for the Islanders in their system as a whole. We'll start in Bridgeport. Anatolii Golyshev is having a really good start to his AHL career. He has scored 3 goals in 4 games. He had a 2-goal game the other night. So he's looked really good. And Robin Salo had a really good weekend this weekend, scoring the game-winning goal in overtime. I think it was against the Thunderbirds, if I'm not mistaken. So Salo continues to look really good on North American ice. He looks very comfortable. Wouldn't surprise me to see him with the big club this year at some point. Good development there. I'm honestly surprised Golyshev is playing in the AHL. I had him pegged to go back to the KHL if he did not make the roster. But good on him for wanting to stick it out and see it through. It's working well for Bridgeport. I think they're a much better team this year than they were last year, so that's good to see. Not in the Bridgeport or on the Bridgeport roster right now, but in the Islander system, William Dufour, who plays for the St. John Sea Dogs in the QMJHL.
Sea Dogs. I like how you said that.
Sea Dogs.
Sea Dog.
He doesn't know how not to score. He's tearing it up in that league. It's like, I don't know. And if you don't already, check out Mitch Anderson on YouTube, Deckhands. He does a really good job with the prospect updates. But I'm not sure if it's a situation where he's a man playing among boys, or if he's just that much better and the Islanders found a really good player in the 5th round. But he is an elite goal scorer in that league. I don't know what it's going to be like in transition to a man's game in the AHL, but he looks much more promising than a 5th round pick. So William Dufour, listen, I think he led the QMJHL last year in goals. He's continued that this year. He's a very interesting name to continue to follow. I believe he made Corey Pronman's list of top prospects for the Islanders. So William Dufour, get used to that name. Continue to look into him as a prospect. Even if it's just if he has a future as a 3rd liner career, doesn't matter. They got him in the 5th round. If he can pot 15, 20 goals for the Islanders consistently when he's ready to play in the NHL, which I don't think is far-fetched at this point because I've watched some tape on him and, he looks really good. That would be a win. 5th round pick, I take that every day.
Yeah, that was really good news. I think there's a lot of other prospects that are doing well, but going back to Bridgeport, I don't know a bunch about Chris Terry, career AHLer. Has almost a point per game player with over 600 games played, well over 500 points in his AHL career. 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 games. So Golyshev's playing really well, but there's this other guy that's kind of been around in the AHL for quite a while and playing really well. Zarnik has 4 assists in 6 games. Dal Cole 2-2 in 4 games. Seems to be doing well in the AHL. He might just be this kind of forever 5th line player, and he might be a Chris Terry, like where he's got a pretty solid AHL career and just can't ever find that next gear in the NHL. Koivula 4 assists in 6 games. Timashov, who I believe is not with the team anymore.
No, his contract was terminated.
Bardreau not playing great. I think a player that I sought out, on the stat list just to see, because people were saying it's time to give him a shot and this and that. I can't believe Johnston's in the lineup. Was Richard Panik, who's played 3 games, -2, only stat line, 2 penalty minutes. That is it. That is his stat line. It's got 4 shots. A lot of zeros on that there. And that's not good. For a guy that's getting paid what he's getting paid, that's a tough look.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's going to be one of the... I don't know how he's an early call-up. Zarnak's been really good when called up. I actually happen to really like him as a future 4th liner on this team. Future 4th line, Johnson, Zarnak. I
don't know if Zarnik is going to be a future 4th liner. He's
a lot like Zizekas. He's got that motor. He's never really had a shot.
He's just a little older, so I don't know how much quote unquote future he has.
It's possible he could score.
Yeah.
In the AHL, at least he's a point per game player. 195 games played, 192 points, which is kind of incredible. Barely consistent. He's had some really good seasons. When kind of given when he plays over 60 games, it seems like he does pretty well. But yeah, I've liked him with the Islanders when he's been called up. He's got a lot of those Zizekas qualities. You're probably right. Being that he's a center, I wonder where the room is for him unless something happens. But Zizekas around, but maybe they move him to wing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But I agreed with you though. He's a Zizekas light, so I do like Zarnik down in the AHL.
I like that you're utilizing my.
I was gonna say too, I should probably give you credit for the light metaphor, but I'm glad you recognize that.
You just steal stuff and just
I'm not stealing
and tweet it out like it's your own thoughts.
Oh yeah. Don't you love that? Don't you love that? That's one of my favorite things.
People have too much time.
Too much time. Let's stop. Let's not. Let's all be kind to each other. Let's all be good.
Yeah, we can we could also stand to say that. Like, we're
be good to each other. We're lucky in this community to have so many people who care about this team that want to cover them and get information and write about it. That we take it for granted, I want to say. And there are so many people who on Twitter like to attack one another to try and make themselves, I guess, look better in the community, whereas it could just be different. Because you and I are on the same page where we are happy to be a part of this community and are also happy to we're a Nassau hockey podcast, right? But we don't feel the need to compete with other Islander podcasts because we would prefer to be friends and work with each other and talk to each other and have conversations, educated conversations, fun conversations. We do this because we love the game, and that's what we want to, share with each other. The game, the team. That's why we do this.
I don't think there's this competition
No.
as much. I mean, I think it's nice to kind of push each other. It's one of those things. It's kind of like your line mates in hockey or whatever sport.
Sure.
Like you kind of push each other to get better. And who's on, we all look at Chartable. We're all trying to make sure who's getting up to, who, I don't know. We can't see what other views and all that other kind of crap, but everyone kind of does something a little bit different. And there's a good crop of podcasts all at these different levels.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's really good. They all kind of they just like the Islanders, they all play their part. I don't think there's a cream of the crop or anything like that. I think there's just a lot of good shows and everything like that. But I think the same thing goes for writing and all these different outlets.
Sure.
It's good to get the perspective. It's days like weeks when it's Sorokin's doing really well and you see everybody's article about how Sorokin's doing well. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're going to write about. I don't think anyone's copying anybody. What are you going to do? Everyone's going to quote the same stuff. It's just the nature of it.
And you can't steal a statistic. If Sorokin had a .99 goals against average this week, that's what he had. Just because one person said that doesn't mean the other person can't also say that to support their thinking.
Yeah,
but anyway.
We could stand to just be nicer because we've had Mitch on the show recently. We've had Christian Arnold on the show before from Hockey Now and Hockey Night in New York podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've had
Mike from Bar Down.
Yeah, Bar Down. They're part of the Hockey Podcast Network.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're trying to be inclusive. Is probably what we should have just said and kind of left it at that. If the community is truly inclusive and we want to be a community, we have to do that. We shouldn't be gatekeeping stuff. We shouldn't be talking down to other people. You can not like it. You also don't need to say it.
Right.
So I at least not publicly. Have your thoughts. It's more than valid to have a feeling about something. We're not going to take that away from you, but be a positive member of this community. You do get to make that choice. So we can leave it at that.
Yes, we can. All right, let's move on to around the rink and talk about something, or someone, or actually rather multiple people who were not good to each other, unfortunately.
Good segue
And
into a very
thanks.
tough thing. So, possible trigger warning.
Mhm.
You can skip ahead a little bit if you don't want to. We're going to talk about the Blackhawk situation, which deals with
Yeah,
sexual assault and different things. So, just if you're uncomfortable with that, not that we're totally comfortable with it, but we feel the need to kind of just
address it.
say, yeah, address it. I think it's important.
Yeah. So the news about the Chicago Blackhawks, the verdict, the outcome has finally happened. It happened yesterday, and or on Monday. What day of the week was it? Tuesday.
Is your favorite thing to say as a podcast host is as you're listening to this?
Well, I made sure to avoid saying that. So
I
anyway,
saw your wheels
we're
turning.
being good to each other. Remember?
I'm not going to be good to you.
Anyway,
I
yeah,
take
no,
it
never
all
are.
back.
Never are. That's why I do this with you every week. And talk to you all day, every day. So anyway, the news came out about the Chicago Blackhawks on Tuesday. Ultimately, the verdict was the Chicago Blackhawks are being fined $2 million. Stan Bowman is resigning from the Hawks and Team USA as the president and general manager. Another number of other executives are also no longer with the team. One has to question what's going to happen with Joel Quenneville, who's now the head coach of the Panthers and was with the team at the time, and Cheveldayoff, who's now the Jets general manager and was with the team at the time.
I think the same could be asked about a lot of the players that were around that same time. Many of
Good
which denied things happening. This
point.
report says otherwise.
Yeah.
Rick Westhead should be mentioned is the one that's been kind of spearheading this entire thing. Katie Strang as well, for the Athletic, and Rick Westhead for TSN. Both investigative reporters that kind of have done an amazing job over the last few years. In particular, they've always been really good, but in particular, the last few years, kind of breaking some major off the ice stories in the NHL. But Rick was on Steve Dangle podcast over the summer and mentioned that players were at the time had mentioned that other players were throwing homophobic slurs at the player in question after this had happened. So on top of should Quenneville be in the league, the answer is probably no. Should Cheveldayoff be in the league? The answer is probably no. Or in hockey, or allowed back, or any of that kind of stuff, along with any of those executives. It's really not enough. I think resigns is disgusting. It should be resigned in disgrace. We should not be trying to sugarcoat this in any way. He got off kind of easy.
Yep.
But I don't think the players. Jonathan Toews was the captain at the time. A lot of big name players were around. Some of them are still in the league. A couple, there's a Suicide Pass made a really good point when all this was kind of happening. It's like interesting how all the players still in the league didn't hear anything, but all the players not in the league anymore are saying that they knew about it.
Right.
So it's interesting where there's that dichotomy.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to do about that. My instinct is just to say that's it. But the NHL has proven that, and the teams and the owners have proven that that's not what happens.
Yeah.
Look at TDA in Carolina or whatever the case is. It's just too easy to ignore and turn the other cheek. So, I did see before we recorded that Quenneville will be made available tomorrow morning
To speak. Yeah.
Some
Cheveldayoff
are
put out a
saying
statement via Twitter from the Jets Twitter account.
Yeah, so it's interesting because there were a number of people named, including Quenneville and Cheveldayoff, that the report said knew about this.
Yeah.
So, and they've both said things to the contrary, as well as a number of players have also said that. But now we know that a lot of them knew. And again, if it was happening on the ice and they were throwing slurs around at this player, be willing to bet everyone knew. And that's something that's a kind of a gross part of the game. I still skate pretty often. I still hear it. Amongst other disgusting things, but I do still hear that. Not as much anymore, but it's not away. So, and a lot of these players are around our age in the NHL. There's a really good chunk of players that are around our age. So it's still pretty pervasive throughout the league. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't really know what the answer is with the whole thing, but also, can we just say that $2 million is a joke? That's like finding somebody
Right.
$100 or $50 or something. Like
Yeah.
that's just not anything of substance. Like I don't know. That doesn't make me feel good. As the NHL trying to do this, like it kind of feels like things are out of control and they don't have a handle on the social aspect of this game. Like the off the ice stuff is just too much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. My takeaway from this was going to be, it took a while, but something at least did happen. Was it enough? No, it wasn't. You know, we got the term that Stan Bowen stepped down when it probably should have said that he was fired.
It's a black on the Blackhawks as well, but on the
Yeah.
league, for perspective, Rachel Dory, who's got her own podcast and has worked for the New Jersey Devils and all this kind of stuff. If you don't already follow her, super good follow. She said the NHL fined the Devils 50% more for the Kovalchuk contract.
Yes.
For some additional perspective
Yes.
on how much
So,
bullshit this is.
I'm glad you brought this up. There are some really incredible journalists out there right now who are taking really good care of this situation, as far as making it, well known. Katie Strang is doing a really good job with it, and more like her. Please read those stories and get up to date on those, because I hadn't been up to date until right before we started recording this, because I had a very busy day, didn't really see too much of the news. And then when I got around to seeing it and learned more, I appreciated those who wrote these stories. So very well done.
Do not rely on us.
No.
I thought it's definitely something we should discuss,
Yes.
but we are not any sort of authority on this. We
Right.
are simply pointing out where to look, giving you very, very high level details.
Yeah.
And absolutely go do some additional research,
Yeah.
because it's a part of the game that needs to change. So
Yeah. My takeaway from this was something happened. It wasn't enough. So that's unfortunate. One more thing that we actually don't have noted here, John, I want to talk about too. More of I don't want to say the same situation, but more of people not being good to each other. Did you see or hear about the fan in Columbus who
Yes.
was rooting for the Stars, and as the Blue Jackets were exiting their locker room to take the ice, someone somewhere in the stands, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, leave it to the internet, found the person on Twitter, circled him in a picture, screamed out to Elvis Merzlikins and the rest of the Columbus Blue Jackets something of the effect of fireworks, and basically making fun of the fact that Matisse I always have a hard time pronouncing his name, Kivalinkis, passed away this summer. That fan should have a lifetime ban from any arena, from the NHL. These are things that these are punishments that need to be made to set an example, to show that we're not going to stand for things like this. Come on. That man sacrificed himself to save someone else. He protected Elvis Merzlikins' pregnant wife. And we're going to mock somebody because we root for an opposing team? You deserve a lifetime ban for that. And if you didn't, again, don't rely on us for this. Look into it. Read these stories for yourself. Good on Merzlikins to say, listen, I heard it. It's not worth it. I let it go.
Yeah,
Good for him for not reacting, but because that's exactly what that person wanted. But this needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I ditto everything that you said. It's disgusting. I saw it earlier this morning, and then when I was doing the show notes, it slipped my mind. Yeah, just be better for each other. You can't sit there, and hockey is a community, and hockey is for everybody, and on and on and on. And then, you know, silence says everything. That's not going to force any change. So, yeah, just kind of be better, speak out about it. If you have a friend, if you have like friends and fans and people around you that are saying certain things, you can. I know it's really hard. Try to be that person. Try to speak to them privately and talk about their actions. Like we can make this community better. You don't have to get on Twitter. You don't have to be anything like that. You don't have to do it publicly. You don't have to tell anybody that it happened. But it's important that every once in a while you stand up for what's right, even if it's one-on-one. You don't have to be confrontational. It doesn't have to be violent. It doesn't have to be anything. Please don't let it be violent. But there's a way to do it somewhat nicely, but firmly, that this doesn't belong, especially in the Islanders community, but anywhere in hockey.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ditto everything you said for sure.
All right, let's move on and talk about some hockey now. Let's talk about surprises so far in the league, and I think first and foremost, you have to go with the Buffalo Sabres. What's more dangerous than playing a team that has nothing left to lose?
I mean, they haven't had the hardest schedule ever.
No, but they're 4-1-1.
Can't argue again. I mean, and this is all without Eichel.
Yes.
And they've had these weird starts before.
You know who's been playing well for them? Kyle Okposo.
Good for him. I love that.
I love that. He saw some adversity after he left the Islanders. Was he sick? What was it that he had to stop playing for a little while? If you remember.
He had some kind of injury. We actually spoke about this last week, and if we had any professionalism, we would have looked it up and followed up. But
true. But
off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Yeah, but anyway, he's playing well.
He had a broken cheekbone.
That was it.
Last year, he's kind of had a bunch of injuries over the years.
Yeah, so
the eye injury when he was on Long Island.
Yeah, it's good to see him playing well. And then right after them, Detroit's also playing pretty well. They're 3-2-1 with 7 points. You have Carolina, who's playing very well. I don't know if they're a surprise, but they're
all undefeated. Carolina, Florida, Edmonton, and St. Louis are still undefeated.
Yes.
Some of those are a surprise. St. Louis, chief among them, frankly. Yeah. Edmonton is just being dragged kicking, screaming by Draisaitl and McDavid, who is
just true
on an absolute tear.
You know who else? San Jose's 4-1.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Yeah, it's like Erik Karlsson is playing a little bit better than he was last year.
Just better at all is better than last year.
Yeah, Brent Burns. Again, the past couple of years are what they were, right? They were weird years where, I don't know, maybe the guys who had down years get a pass on that, and it's more kind of a regular year this year. There's still some COVID complications, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I don't know, it's more normal this year, so maybe that's why they're playing better.
It could just be early in the season, and everyone kind of, just like good teams play bad teams have a good run, and that's perfectly fine. Like I said, Carolina, Florida don't really surprise me. I was surprised.
No, they don't surprise me.
I was surprised at the Carolina win over the Leafs the other night, especially because I turned it on and I watched Austin Matthews with the wraparound goal on Freddie Anderson, formerly of the Leafs. And I watched Anderson, just like the laziest play I've seen by a goalie. Just like paddle wasn't in the right spot. Not even in the butterfly, kind of just down. It just was so lackadaisical. I was like, oh man, Leafs are just going to absolutely run them over. Yeah. And they lost 4-1. Like Anderson just turned it around.
Yeah.
After he must have turned around after that, but I saw that goal. I was like, man, I understand why Leafs fans were so frustrated with this guy for so long. That this is how he was. I mean, he's 4-0 or 5, whatever his record is. He's playing really well. Bobrovsky is back in Florida. He's playing really well.
Yep.
Thornton got his first goal the other night. They're kind of rolling. Did you catch any of the absolute barn burner between Ottawa and Washington? It was
Yeah.
like 7-5.
Yeah,
I
I
turned
saw
the
it.
game on. It was 2-2. I was flipping back between a couple games, this and that. I kept going. I was like, it was 2-2 or whatever, and then it was 4-3, and then it was 5-3, and then it was 5-5.
I'll tell you what.
I couldn't even believe it.
Ottawa's a little feisty. They're I don't want to say they're a surprise because their record isn't great, but I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a team you could sleep on. Kind of like the Devils. Devils are good.
Oh,
Can't
they're
sleep
having a
on
rough
them.
night right now. They're having a
They're without
on
Jack
their,
Hughes.
They're on their fourth goalie this season. They're
Yeah.
down 5-2. It was 4-0 after the first.
Yeah.
It's
Listen,
the-
they're without Jack Hughes, but I think the team is going to be ultimately by the end of the season. I think they're going to be better. Right now, it's a little rough, a couple injuries here and there, but Ottawa and the Devils, those are two young up and coming teams who I think are going to be very good. And to see them put up, 5 goals against Washington didn't surprise me. Kachuk, Batherson, Josh Norris, like all those guys are good players. So they're going to be very good in the future. Let's talk about more fun that Carolina is having at the expense of the Montreal Canadiens because, sorry Habs fans if you're listening to this, which I don't know why you would.
We're fine.
Yeah, you're not.
Maybe you just want to
yeah,
listen to us.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, thanks for that, bud. I needed that. Anyway,
I don't know if I even believe that.
Montreal's off to a 1-5 start. They're not having a good time.
That's funny. See, they won't appreciate that. Somebody else might though. They are certainly not having a good time.
No, they are not. I don't know if you saw Brendan Gallagher flip out in the hallway after a bad game, just bashing his stick against whatever, breaking it. Yeah, they're not having a good time over in Montreal, and Carolina is having fun at their expense. Kotkaniemi scores in the game where he returns to Montreal, of course. I think they made a website. Did Montreal win yet?
Did Montreal win or something like that? Or did the Habs win? They sold Sebastian Aho t-shirts and Kotkaniemi t-shirts for $20. I think this is what annoys me. And Friedman said this recently on 32 Thoughts, and I actually haven't listened to that.
I'm sorry,
show all that
can't
much.
Stop laughing.
No, it's perfect. He was like, "Look, just lean into it." I don't know why whatever the GM or the owner is of Carolina came out and was like, "No, it's not revenge," and what else? And it's not revenge, and it's not this. And dude, just
the league needs
have fun. Oh my god, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just say that absolutely. It was a player that we wanted. We had a chance to get back at them, and yeah, we're gonna run with it. Like our team, our organization is run a certain way. Our media and communications, we allow them to have a lot of fun and poke at other teams and engage with fans and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, like this is good. Habs fans and the team, like we're gonna run at them. We're gonna make this a circus. Like I don't know why not lean into it.
It's so funny to me that the Carolina Hurricanes went from being like this lovable group of guys who do like this funny
bunch of jerks thing.
Well, okay, first they were this lovable
group
of guys who did this funny, I don't know, skit after a game, every game that they won. Suddenly, Don Cherry calls them a bunch of jerks, and then it was like switch, flip, we're villains, and it's working.
I feel like I would regret not saying that. Like I'm struggling liking all of this and giving them any airtime because I still feel like they're pieces of shit for signing TDA. Like I'm struggling. Like I forgot that because of all this other press going on about them and the Habs and all this stuff. I turned on a game the other day, or turned on the Toronto Carolina game, and they mentioned that he had passed the puck, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's a thing. And I was like,
Yeah.
I kind of don't want to watch this game now. And I went back. Then I went back to the Ottawa Washington game, and I think it's important to recognize that. I know they're allowed to have fun to a certain degree, but like, still not great, especially in like Chicago, Montreal, Carolina. Please, like, they're not all in the same boat necessarily, but it's all really crappy. Like, please don't forget that. It's important to keep it in mind. I know we got like upbeat for a little bit here, but
Well, the good news is that
don't forget that.
through 5 games, we haven't heard anything about TDA. The bad news is there's still plenty of time for something to happen. So let's hope that there's not. And
You're gonna throw them in the Blue Ridge Mountains if they do something wrong.
Yeah.
You'll never hear from them again.
Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are also not having a good time. Edmonton is just running away with the glory that they are Canada's team right now, 5-0. Montreal and Toronto are just drowning.
I don't know.
Is not playing well. Austin Matthews is frustrated as hell. John Tavares is not playing well. What's going on in Toronto?
Nylander's, I think he's got 5 points, but he's been on that for a couple of games. They got routed by Pittsburgh.
Oh my!
Who just got
who don't have Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, and Evgeny Malkin.
Brian Rust. They had a whole and Jeff Carter. They had pretty much their whole power play, like on any team, their power play out. They get routed by Pittsburgh, who's getting routed tonight by the Lightning 5-1.
Yeah.
For their first regulation, the Pittsburgh's first regulation loss of the season, which is good for teams in the Metro. Pittsburgh, the Leafs, the Leafs could learn something from a Pittsburgh or the Islanders or something like that, where they know who they are. Even if Crosby's not in the lineup, they all know how to play with his intensity and his attention to detail and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, the skill's not there, but just like the Islanders, with from the top down and the veteran players, where they set this example and they're role models, and everyone has a role, everyone knows who they are, the team knows who they are. The Leafs do not have that. No one, I don't think anyone's out there like going above and beyond. There's no one like. They have the Wayne Simmons and a couple other veterans that kind of do that, just like who they are is like their playing style. Their top guys aren't doing it. Like that was what Trotz had to teach Ovechkin years ago. Like block shots, play defense. You got to lead. Everyone's gonna follow you. You're gonna even if you're out of the lineup, everyone's gonna follow your example, and they don't have that.
Maybe the problem, and I can't take credit for this, but Elliot Friedman said. Maybe the problem is that Amazon series did them harm and not good. The other thing is he had just basically said put a lot of pressure on them because they got behind the scenes and saw what goes on every day in the everyday life of a Toronto Maple Leaf and what goes on in the locker room, this, that, and the other thing. The other thing is, they relaxed the dress code, which is fine, but check what I just sent you in the private message here. Did you see this about what John Tavares is doing outside of hockey? Have you seen what he's doing? Is it loading?
I mean,
is this a problem? Are they just trying too hard to be superstars in Toronto? Look at us.
I think that's the opportunity that you have when you play for a team like that, where you're
not
going to get that kind of.
Let's clarify before we go on. John Tavares is now a model for Lululemon. That's what's happening here. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Matthews has. I think they all have deals that they wouldn't have otherwise,
which is fine.
And you're gonna. I think if Tavares learned anything from that injury that he sustained and past injuries, but specifically the concussion that he's sustained in the playoffs last year, the knee from the unintentional knee from Corey Perry. I don't want to besmirch his name any more than it already is. I think they know they get your money. Well, he can. So I don't blame him for that.
No,
If your point is that if it's too much of a circus off the ice for them at times and they don't focus, I could get on board with that. I think there's a lot of pressure. I don't think as much as Montreal, but I think there's a lot in Toronto. It's a personnel issue. It's an on-ice issue. I really don't think it's anywhere else. I mean, Dubas and Lamoriello, to some degree, kind of made that salary cap situation real difficult. I think at this point, less Lamoriello, but Dubas has made that cap situation tough where they're paying their top players like half the cap every season. That's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Then you kind of have to guess on bottom of the barrel players as far as cap's concerned.
Rookies.
So like $750 to $2 million, you got to guess on that every season. And they keep losing decent players. They're not moving players up through the system. No goalies are coming up.
Zach
Any
Hyman.
kind of forward. Hyman. But they won the Calder Cup a number of years ago. I don't think any of them are on the lease.
Correct. Kapanen's gone.
Johnston,
all those,
Hyman,
all
like
those young guys.
These secondary, essentially middle six players.
Yeah.
There's no consistency there season over season. And the top guys don't really have the grit. I'm not talking about this old school stuff. Like they're just not setting the example. There's no one out there. There's no Cizikas. There's no Parise. There's no one stirring the drink.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have anyone kind of doing it.
I agree.
There's a lot of, I'm just going to use the drink analogy. There's a lot of separation from you can see the density of the two different things in the cup. There's the top players and there's everybody else. And it's a very clear difference. And no one's there making sure everything's stirred up. Wayne Simmons can only do so much. He's not going to fight every single game. So yeah, I don't know what the issue is there. It's confusing because they're on paper, they're so good. It's hard to argue against that. Good on Jack Campbell, but they have a guy in Hutchinson who is essentially their fourth goalie last year. They lost guys on waivers. He was their fourth goalie. One injury and Arundel was claimed on waivers, and there they are. They're in that position. And I think it's really tough.
Yep. It sure is a shame that John Tavares wasted his time away on Long Island and has finally been set free in Toronto. Right there, pal?
I mean, he's laughing to the bank, but at least to the press, the first thing he'd say is it's not about the money.
Yeah.
And I don't think it even was in this case. I think you get a chance like that to go play for your home team, that's fine.
Sure.
You don't really know what's about to happen on Long Island when he makes that decision. I think you're frustrated in the moment. Watching this Formula One show on Netflix, which I would absolutely
highly
tell
recommend
everyone to watch. Highly recommend. Daniel Ricciardo was with the French team, Renault or whatever the company is, for 2 years. They wound up doing pretty well with him on it, and he's still left.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he signed a contract with wherever he's going before the end of the season, and then they actually finished really well.
Yeah.
And he's like, he made that decision before he even knew if anything was working, and that was the frustration that the management had. He made this decision, and we didn't really even get going. Tavares did dedicate a lot of his time there, and you don't know what's about to happen, so you take the opportunity. But I think a lot of players would say, look what's happened since he's left. Not good that he left, but it didn't need to revolve around him. We've put a lot of other things in place that are working in our favor, and it's not that we didn't need him, but we have who we needed, and that's okay.
Yep. Totally agree. All right, to finish off the show, let's talk about the COVID complications going on in Chicago and St. Louis. And for a second there, it did look like it might happen with the Winnipeg Jets. As I noted, I think in one of the Isles Fix newsletters, it could be a problem down the line for a potential game against the Islanders. Maybe that 13-game road trip was cut down to a 12 game, but I think that they figured it out, and there was potential false positives in that group of tests that were administered. So looks okay in Winnipeg right now, but Chicago and St. Louis got hit pretty hard.
Yeah, after Seattle and Colorado, it seems to be kind of going around, and I'm still surprised it's happening. That the taxi squad hasn't been implemented in some way. It's a real strain, I think, on the whole system. That's difficult because it's GMs having to figure out the cap situation. You're moving players around. You're still having to field some kind of team.
Yeah.
So it just like, do we need to put another asterisk on the season? Just as far as how much of a role did COVID play? I think we knew this was going to happen in some capacity. I'm just surprised that they didn't figure something out. But I guess for the most part, it seems to be going well. It's been 4 or 5 teams, maybe some more that I'm unaware of. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed that everyone just stays safe here.
Yeah, I do have to say once again, I was a bit surprised that a taxi squad, after being spoken about as a possibility to start the season, didn't happen. But here we are. I guess the damage hasn't been too much, league wide. Chicago and St. Louis got hit, but looks like that might really be all right now. Ryan Strome was out a couple of days for the Rangers, but it was just contained to him. So I don't know. It looks like maybe things are going well. Save those couple of teams and players we just mentioned, but yeah, we'll see how it shakes out moving forward. I don't know if I anticipate it getting worse or not. I can't really tell, but I think hopefully it'll be just fine. All right, that wraps it up for episode 83 of Nasman Hockey Podcast, John.
Plus a couple others. We got to figure out how many episodes. I want to celebrate 100.
True.
So we've done some post games. We've done bonus stuff. We got to count. I'm not good at that. We got to hire somebody to count.
We need a producer or something around here, like somebody to guide us in the right direction.
Some music, some transition, some stuff. Hockey Podcast Network, everything they've done for us is amazing.
Yes.
We can step it up.
Yeah.
Like our own
definitely.
thing. They've given us a lot of tools, but we could use some extras here.
Yeah. Speaking of, we want to say thank you to DraftKings and Manscaped. Use that THPN promo code and DraftKings promo code with at NHB20 with Manscaped. To the Hockey Podcast Network, we also want to say thank you. And Isles Fix, of course. As well as all of you, our listeners. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Nasman Hockey. You can also join our Discord for a safe place to chat with fellow Islander fans. Lastly, you can find my work at the Fourth Period and John's work at the Hockey Writers, as well as the Isles Fix Substack. Until next time, everybody, let's go Islanders.